Well, folks, for the final time in 2015, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome in to the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe. Joining you folks here to sort of sit back, relax, and reflect on a pretty long 2015 year, not just, of course, with the WNBA, but also with the turn of this network, folks, as we turned and celebrated our one-year anniversary on the tube. Joined, of course, tonight by our dynamic duo of Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart, both up in Los Angeles. Comical Her joining you folks here from Studio 171 in San Diego. Guys, good evening, and how's it going? Good to see you.
Hey, 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 it's going well.
Hey, hey, hey. What's up, everyone?
So again, folks, to reiterate again, this is the final night that you'll see our regular format show here on the network for the remainder of the for the year. Because again, we will be off all next week and the following week after until January 4th due to the Christmas and New Year's holiday. So again, this is your last official day of a full show, and again on Monday is going to be the debut of our brand new personal form and host get to know you better show, basically, of WNBA one-on-one. And obviously, Shorty, starting with you, of course, 2015 for the WNBA marked the 19th consecutive year of the longest-running professional women's sports league on so many levels, of course, Shorty, but also, as we know, though, very well, it was kind of starting off on the wrong foot with a bunch of legal problems between Isaiah Thomas and the New York Liberty. Also included this year was, of course, the infamous Brittany Griner, Glory Johnson situation that also went down earlier. But, of course, Shorty, as well this year, coming off of last year, the WNBA also recorded tremendous growth amongst attendance in pretty much every city across the league. A lot of positive feedback for the first time in quite some time with the league going forward. So, Shorty, starting off the court this year, beginning, of course, with the off-season hullabaloo of scandals and also players looking to sit out. I mean, obviously, Shorty, in your mind, how did the WNBA, I guess, in your mind, kind of rebound from such a very clouded and very foggy offseason between lawsuits and domestic violence problems and also players, kind of showing resentment towards the team and the league because of, the many hurdles that they do jump over. But how did the league, though, in your mind, for this year, kind of bounce back from all that offseason turmoil in your mind? What do you think and why?
Um, yes, when we talk about the WNBA off season, I mean, so much crap went down. It's amazing how almost we've watched live through that whole debacle. But the word that comes to my mind right now is resilience, and that's what the WNBA as a organization as a whole had to do to push through this tough season. And I mean, they've been doing it for 19 years now, so it's not really a surprise, but they definitely had to push through a lot to get through the season. And I think they did a very great job doing that, and still keeping everything up, as far as you said, attendance and television ratings go. So it's definitely good on the league's part, but yeah, they went through a lot. My goodness, that stuff, that whole BG glory crap, that was enough in itself. But it's their resilience that pushed them through.
Crystal, you know what? I mean, Shorty just hit the nail on the head again, talking about perseverance. And again, the league has really persevered through all 19 seasons. So much doubt, so much hate, so much nonsense thrown in the WNBA's face every single day of the week. Whether it's between of what occurred on Wednesday or just in general during the season to get some type of coverage, there's always some type of hurdle in their way, 24/7, 365, as much as there is for us to come on here and, for an hour or so talk about this league and get it some type of small microscopic publicity. But Crystal, in your mind, how did the league, though, kind of bounce back from a very, very, a tumultuous offseason with so many problems between ownership changes, lawsuits, and domestic violence, and also, of course, players not playing this year for either the half or the full season? How did they really, though, bounce back, though, from a very, very rough offseason, have a very productive, and again, their 19th straight season as the longest-running women's professional sports league in your mind going forward?
Um, I would have to say be generic and say the same thing Shorty said and say resilience. resilience, and a lot of magic fairies and prayer. Because I don't think that was gonna be. I mean, it was a weird 2015 for the league, but they managed to get it back straight and strong. But I think 2016 will be better, even though it's kind of starting off weird with no president and no, player. I guess you could say player, operator, president, however you want to call it. But I think they'll come back stronger. I mean, they managed to come back stronger, so hopefully it'll be a better 2016.
Shorty, like I said, I mean, between what has happened during the course of the week, and folks, by the way, we will not be addressing any of that on the program. We will actually have an exclusive story from all of us on the WNBA 365 Network website on WNBA365.wix.com/WNBA365. That's a very, very disturbing subject they will not talk about here, is we want to kind of keep this program and this network PG rated. So again, we will not be addressing any of that off the court nonsense. But obviously, Shorty, I mean, yes, we've talked about Isaiah Thomas, we've talked about BG and Glory Johnson, but that one I think just kind of took the cake for being by far something not to address on here and what we've seen. But again, folks, we will not be touching that subject at all on the network anytime soon, except on the website again for an exclusive 5-person story again on WNBA365.wix.com/WNBA365. But Shorty, again, like we said, though, I mean, again, the 19th season of the league, and of course, a year, though, marred by players, of course, sitting out the first half or the entire season, notably, again, Diana Taurasi, Henny Taylor, Janelle McCarville out for the whole season, Sylvia Fowles and Candace Parker missing half the season. So obviously, Shorty, this was probably another wrench thrown into the plans of the season this year for, of course, this coming out as well between all these players taking the time off. But as we all said, though, for the longest time between the three of us and the five of us as well, when we have the full squad here, is longevity. Again, thinking about the future and thinking about something bigger than basketball once the career ends. I mean, we've already seen Candace Parker doing broadcasting for the SEC network for the college games already. We've seen other players now that did sit out for the season playing now again overseas, like DT is over with UMC Ekaterinburg, so on and so forth. So, Shorty, obviously, your final take, though, about how you saw those players, again, sitting out for either part of the season or, again, for the entire season in your mind, again, going forward.
I mean, there were so many opinions about it from, fans, whether, they thought it was a great idea or the players were being selfish. But overall, my personal opinions have been consistent, and that is, they had to do what they had to do. Some of it was for financial reasons, for possibly DT, even though I'm not saying that she needed the money, but still, it was hers was financial. For Candace, it was just rest, simply, rest the body, want to prolong her career. Well, same as DT too, but she wasn't seeking compensation when she started to sit out the first half of the Sparks. And then with Sylvia, hers was being a disgruntled player who wanted out of Chicago. So there was her reason there, and ultimately landed in Minnesota, where she won the title with them. So there was just multiple reasons for why, those players decided to make the decisions that they did. But overall, I respected their decision. Their decision, because overall, they had to do what's best for their careers in the long run. And, I fully supported it.
Crystal, again, dominoes fell other than just the lawsuits against Isaiah Thomas and also the BG Glory Johnson snafu, but also dominoes falling, again, amongst players in the league internally, again, taking the time off to rest their bodies, either for compensation from overseas commitments or, as Shorty said, though, again, being a bit disgruntled towards the franchise they're playing for, again, between Fowles sitting out, again, with Chicago, Parker out here in L.A., and, of course, Taylor and Taurasi in Phoenix, and then, of course, as well, Janelle McCarville with Minnesota. So, again, Crystal, a final take, though, again, about those players, again, taking that time off, again, either for longevity, for overseas commitments, or, again, as Shorty said, though, just kind of being a wuss for what they were, for who they were playing for, perhaps, in your mind.
He just called them a wuss. I think for the older players, it's going to help them. I mean, look what it did for Candace when she was gone for about like 2 or 3 months. She was gone. Is I don't know what's going to go on with Penny Taylor exactly, but if she does come back, maybe it'll help her because I know she was battling a lot of injuries because she's no spring chicken either. And for the people who are just pulling the Sylvia fouls, I just think that was just being selfish and unfair. But hopefully, well, I already know it's going to happen next year because the Olympics, but hopefully more and more people don't start doing that trend. The Sylvia fouls trend is what I'm going to call it, the Liz Kate Sylvia fouls trend. But I feel like if it's for health reasons, then it'll be okay. But I think next year, I do know people are going to miss because of the Olympics, but I think it's going to be a little bit better next year as far as players not wanting to come back.
Shorty, I guess I would also address this year again is kind of the changing of the guard in both conferences where you saw some new faces get in the postseason party this year between the Tulsa Shock, now the Dallas Wings getting in for the first time in their Tulsa history after many, many years of terrible play in Tulsa, including going 3-31 in their first season in Tulsa. And again, a very rugged, roller coaster of emotion for that franchise. And then you saw, between the East being you didn't see Atlanta this year. You saw New York in there this year. You saw a very good Washington team. Again, the Fever back in there for like the 12th consecutive year in the postseason. And then also out east between the Liberty and the Mystics and the Fever and Muskegon back in there with the reigning MVP, Valena Deldon. Then back out west, of course, Seattle and San Antonio stumble and struggle through the entire season. And then, again, 3 of the 4 teams that we saw again in the postseason last year between the Sparks, the Mercury, and the Lynx. And then, of course, the Shock goes in there. So, Shorty, I guess what would you kind of say, though, about the changing of the guard again, seeing some fresh blood and fresh faces in the postseason party this past summer in your mind going forward?
I mean, for most teams, especially Tulsa, they were the least surprised to me. I think it was me and Crystal who actually predicted in preseason that they would make the playoffs this year. I mean, they were so close. You saw them just building every year, piece by piece. After that 3-31 season, you know, the organization made all the right moves, put all the right people in place. So we saw them coming. I mean, they nearly made the playoffs last year. That's how close they were, and they finally got over the hump and made the playoffs. And the most surprising thing is they kept it going without Skylar Diggins. They lost Skylar Diggins to an ACL injury, earlier this year, so or at least in the summer. So for them to ultimately make the playoffs, continuing on while losing their big star, I mean, it was definitely great for them. And then, as you said, out east, Bill Lambier, after previously being fired, as I said on a previous show, they brought him back, and he just, oh my goodness, worked his magic. Old Trader Bill got all his right pieces in the trade, and took a hold of the East. And then Indiana, on the spectacular run that they did, shocking everyone to get to the finals. That was amazing. And yeah, Washington steadily improving and always in the mix, and then quickly back out to the West. You know, we pretty much figured that San Antonio, with the loss of Becky Hammond, wouldn't be up to par as they were in previous seasons. So down goes them. LA was the biggest
Womp womp.
uh, almost sinking ship before
Womp womp.
CP came back and got everything rolling. So it was definitely an interesting season as a whole. This summer.
Crystal, again, your thoughts about seeing some new talent, new faces, new fresh blood in the WNBA ocean for the postseason. Again, you saw the Liberty for the first time since 2012 get in the playoff mix. The Shock for the first time in Tulsa history got into the postseason. Again, as I said, after many pretty horrible years down there, going again as I said 3-31, year number 1 down there, and then just struggling and again building up from square one. Could perhaps be like the WNBA version of the Warriors again, where they just build, and build, and they can probably kind of get back to where that franchise once was in Detroit. Now that they're in Dallas. But Crystal, your thoughts though again about seeing some new faces in the WNBA postseason party this summer?
It's about time. I mean, you get tired of seeing the same 3 to 4 teams. Cough, cough, Minnesota.
The shade.
It's good to see some new blood there. Like Shorty said, me and her. We've been talking about that since last year, actually. Tulsa, now Dallas, saying that they were going to be um, in the playoffs, and I don't think people really thought we were. I think they thought we were nuts by making that prediction. But I mean, we kind of just seen it, and like Shorty said, it's kind of good, and I'm happy there's more teams coming up, new faces, new blood. I would love to see LA be number one next year in the playoffs, but
Ooh,
hopefully, and no shade, but hopefully Minnesota misses the playoffs this year just for one time because I'm tired of seeing them win. I can't take it no more. Can't see no more Maya Moore parades. Nothing against them. It's just too much. It's just too much. If I see another Minnesota Link parade, I might shed a tear. This is just too much for me.
You know, guys, I think that in any sport, it's always good to have some type of longevity in regards to a different playoff mixture. I mean, there's been many times, of course, in baseball where you've hated seeing the Yankees in the playoffs, and of course the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. In the NFL, and of course either the Lakers or Celtics winning 33 of the previous, of pretty much they won 33 combined championships. So of course getting old seeing them, and then in the NHL it's been the Kings or the Blackhawks, and then in MLS was always the Galaxy. So it's always good though that you see some type of changing of the guard. You see some new faces in the playoffs or in the finals, and it's not the same broken record or same old song and dance, always playing over and over again as you go forward. But Shorty, just in regards though to the entire season, before we kind of move off the beat here, Shorty, give us your final take on the entire 2015 season. Again, the 19th consecutive year of the longest running professional women's pro league. Final take about 2015. Go for it.
um, for me, it's sort of in the middle. It wasn't as exciting, to be honest, as previous seasons, but it was still pretty good to watch nevertheless. What's all the crap that did go down, the WNBA still managed to have a productive season, and like I stated, as for our team, the Sparks, they were up and down, but they at least made it to the playoffs with all the crap that they went through and forced the game three in that series against Minnesota before Minnesota broke our hearts. It made Crystal cry
Yeah, it made it
and gave
made
her
me
a heart attack.
gave me a super duper
But
heart attack.
overall, it was a good season.
Crystal, give us your final take about the 2015 season. Again, the 19th straight year of the WNBA, again, over the summer. Final take about 2015. Go for it.
2015 season um, was probably eventful and uneventful at the same time. A lot of stars were gone. I know, I know. Two stars for our team was gone, which is why we had such a bad start. Like Shorty said, Minnesota made me cry a couple of games. There was one game where I had like a mini panic attack. I don't know what was going on. Some of you guys might have seen me tweet that game, but it was not a very good game. Um, there was, I mean, it was kind of just an up and down year for the season just because a lot of stars were going. But I think 2016 would be better. And again, no more Minnesota. LA, do your job next year. We can't have them in there. I love some Minnesota fans though, so don't think if you're a Minnesota fan watching this that I hate you, because I don't. I'm just tired of seeing that forest green and blue and white and all of that. But like I said, it's I mean, I would love to see next year be more eventful, but it was eventful and uneventful at the same time.
Guys, I think about the 2015 season. I just kind of think about, kind of like addition by subtraction, basically. There was, teams that had subtracted players off their roster for whatever the reason may have been for them, again, making those moves. But I think, though, that I'm kind of with Shorty. It was kind of one of those, like, kind of shrug your shoulders seasons again. For the most part, again, teams not having all their puzzle pieces in place. But still, though, guys, a positive year, though, for the league again. Probably, again, probably for the, this is back-to-back years where they've recorded some type of growth in some very small capacity, whether it's a very small increase in team attendance and jersey sales and ticket sales, merchandising, or whatever it may be. Anytime you can get some positive numbers up for the WNBA, always a plus. And, of course, in wake of what has happened during this week. Again, any positive news or anything that you can report on positively for the league, of course, is really big news. But again, folks, I kind of think it's kind of one of these for the 2015 season going forward. Shorty and Kristen, now we'll move away from the pro ranks now and kind of talk about all of us here on this YouTube channel. Again, this is again year number 2 of this bad boy, or this channel again going forward. Again, started out again more so covering the LA Sparks, of course, but again, sort of but again, guys, as you guys may have read that press release when I had sent it out during the playoffs again, this was a move, though, that I felt needed to be made because of, again, as you may know, again, some internal problems with the former broadcast team we did have assembled, but also for more of a platform, though, for the entire league going forward. So, again, anyone that was not an LA fan could get a better, clear emphasis on the entire league going forward. So, again, and also what we have had set up here between media members coming on or at least interacting, we've had a lot of good things. And I think that even that now that we kind of look back on this, that we've really gone more this way. Kind of like the league, we've kind of gone this way in a very positive way about this. So obviously, Shorty, I know that you and KT were huge fans of the former brand, the network, but obviously we'll start with you on this one. But did you kind of feel like there had to be some type of change made in regards to either broadcast team formation or kind of, I guess, more so about the entire league, more so than just one specific franchise in your mind?
Um, Most definitely me. Most definitely. It's a good idea to want to expand because at first it was LA Sparks 365, and of course, all of us being original Sparks fans, it was good initially, for the network to, share, what's latest about the LA Sparks and things like that. But of course, it would make sense to not only just talk about the Sparks, since on the broadcast we was talking about, other scores from other teams and things like that that the network will ultimately expand into the rest of the WNBA. So I definitely think on that part it makes sense, and just for the network to do coverage 365 instead of only for the summer. When when added other programs like the college edition added to the show and things like that, and the overseas report and things like that. So it was definitely great for the network to expand and cover more than just the LA Sparks.
Crystal, I'm going to bring up one word real quick about this, and I know this word pretty well, is complacency. You kind of get good about, you kind of feel good about yourself, and you just kind of stop and don't want to improve anything. And you either don't go to practice and don't want to improve, or you take a game off and don't play very well. That was kind of what I was evaluating, looking over all the analytics and stats and the numbers on the channel was, okay, we're kind of, we're going this way, but I think we need to kind of go more up on a more better pace. And again, the move again of switching up the broadcast team, getting rid of the former co-host, bringing in all of you guys, and of course adding in Eric and Reagan into the equation as well. Along with, again, as we said, though, expanding the bridges a bit more, building better bridges with the entire fan base of the WNBA between everyone that we know on Twitter that follows us and tweets to us. So, Krista, when you kind of read that press release I had sent out again about, hey, there's going to be some changes coming up here, pretty big major overhaul. Initial thoughts, and now thoughts as you think back to October and or even September now when you kind of think back to it.
Well, the first thing I wanted to say is thank you again for letting me be a part of the growth of the network. I think that was really cool. And as far as complacency, pretty much we were on April Sykes level, and then once we figured out that we need to work on our game a little bit, we need to work on our game, work on everything we did, we became on Candace Parker's level. Which pretty much is where we are right now, and I think it's good that with the network to move forward, it's good that we pretty much went to the right direction. I think a lot of people were probably stagnant because, the show was titled Sparks 365 instead of WNBA 365, so I think they felt that it would be more based around one team than all the other teams. And I think now, since we've added 2-3 more shows, it gives people a chance to not only get to know us, but to get to know that we like more than just the WNBA and talk more basketball. So I think, the branding was a great thing. Like, again, I thank you to be a part of this. it's awesome to be a part of. We're finally out of that April sight stage of life, so we can all give ourselves two hand claps and a twist. So
Oh my God.
I'm happy to be a part of that. I think it's pretty awesome.
I'll take care of the two claps and a twist once we get off air and into the off air hangout. But Shorty, let's kind of do a little bit of a throwback Thursday and kind of go back to when we had launched this thing initially on February 24th of last year again. And again, Shorty, more so again, kind of the fact that when you're stumbling upon this viewing page of this first show, you see there's no paper, there's no newspaper, no numbers up, no jerseys up. It's just a surfboard in an empty room I'm in my house right now. But again, Shorty, more so than that, you're seeing guys talking about the WNBA, and again, as we know very well again, and also in wake of Wednesday again, that this is a sporting league that again is pretty much the doormat for the 80% of male sports fans that again do not really tune in to watch any type of female sports other than the UFC perhaps, or any MMA events that do go on, or even perhaps even pro wrestling with the divas going on. But again, Shorty, when you see guys, well, for now, one guy at least in here, knowledgeable though about a sport and again about a league and sport that no one again really talks about on a day-to-day basis. That kind of was that kind of like a mini eye opener, perhaps, like hey, this guy, he may be a guy, but he knows what he's talking about this league. Is that kind of what you probably had thought, perhaps, when you kind of think back to last year, perhaps, or show number one way back last year? What do you think and why though?
Quickly, can you please restate the question because the Wi-Fi was going in and out?
Great. I love it. Yeah, we're going up and down like roller coasters. I just want to, because again, Shorty, you're seeing, male sports fans talking a female sport that again no one again really talks about, or obviously is a doormat for them basically. But again, though, thoughts though again about seeing male sports fans again covering a very underappreciated league in your mind.
I think is great, and it's definitely what the WNBA would want, and certainly what other female WNBA fans would want to see. As a demographic for the fans in the league, we want more guys to hop along, and of course, the league definitely want more male sports fans, and they've been trying to get that for like a decade now. But of course, so many times they were, to my mind, going about it the wrong way. But when you guys initially, launch this network, you guys definitely came at it the right way, and showed the right approach, to the league, and a lot of us respect that. I definitely respect that. It's like, hey, this guy Callan definitely knows what he's talking about, and not only that, but he showed his deep love and appreciation for the league, and we like seeing that, and not only from you, but also the guy Eric, who's not on tonight. So we definitely have a whole lot of respect for the both of you guys, to take interest in the WNBA, and we hope that more, there are more guys like you guys to follow suit and definitely get interested in the league without all the other nonsense, that goes along with it. So we need more Callens and more Erics and less the other idiots.
Crystal, again, you made your debut here July 24th of last year during the season. And again, it was more so because of Shorty baiting you to come on. But more than anything else, though, again, Crystal, when you're probably watching me do this on a night-to-night basis, again, with a pretty dysfunctional broadcast team, but we won't talk about that much further. But again, seeing male sports fans, again, that, have a very good understanding and a very good knowledge about the league and the sport going forward, what does that say to you, though, when you kind of think back to last year when we really, though, kind of got this thing off the ground and running?
Well, first I want to apologize for dropping you guys for a second. My phone fell. I hope I didn't hurt nobody out there. Don't sue me. I ain't got no money. Second, was it really in 2014? That felt like forever. Wow, that was, yeah. I thank Shorty for that, because Shorty was like, you should do it, and I was like, nah. Shorty was like, you should do it, and I was like, nah. And she was like, you should do it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give the people what they want. So then I did it, and it was pretty fun. And I enjoy it. I still enjoy it. I'm still here, which is a good sign, which means that y'all aren't tired of me yet, and I appreciate that.
Never.
Um, but yeah, it was it was. I mean, it's different. Um, it's I can't really say that. I mean, it's different. I don't really know. I don't know what else to really say. It's different. I mean, it's like I said, I'm just happy to be a part of it. And I think you as Shorty, you because it's your show, you know, you could fire me or whatever time you want to. I think Shorty was like, you should do it. So I appreciate both of y'all. And like Shorty said, for you and Eric to be knowledgeable about the game and want to talk the game, and especially since you guys are men, that's you really don't get that, and we appreciate that. And you just gotta keep moving forward. That's all I can really say about it.
Tanisha, it's not just me sitting here on a night-to-night basis because I've done this for 12 years, covering the sport when I was 11 up until now. But also, it's more so again about, as you said, Shorty, the respect that this channel and this team and even myself has gotten over the entire year. I mean, from the point where we've been able to have current players watch and former players watch, and even of course, between our regular media folks, but even when we had Coach Dave Miller watch an entire post-game show for the entire 45 minutes our first year in June of last year when he was down here seeing his son at SDSU. I mean, Shorty, what does that kind of say, though, about kind of building this from square one, but also, again, of the appreciation, though, from the rest of the women's basketball community via social media in your mind as well?
I mean, they love it. They love it because, so many fans have talked about over and over again there's not enough media coverage for the WNBA, and the only media coverage they get is when someone does something or say something stupid in regards to the league, and I mean, that's definitely not good coverage. I know they say that uh, any kind of publicity is good publicity, but I disagree. The WNBA needs much more positive publicity as they can get from multiple media outlets who are actually interested in covering this league. And I think this network, is at the top of its game, covering the league. That's why so many fans in the W are getting to where they are really appreciating it. And of course, with hopefully more growth that comes along, we attract even more WNBA fans to catch on to the network. And when they see the combination of all of us, we are certainly an interesting dynamic. So when they catch all of us on the broadcast, they'll definitely get attached to it and love it because this network is all about the W, positively, not negatively.
Crystal, again, as I had mentioned, again, it's not just the respect that I get from everyone on the team and all the support from everyone else on here for my career going forward, but again, it's also been about the fans, the players that have watched, the media members that have watched, the television anchors that have watched, and all the people that, other than maybe today again, maybe having a couple of those, of the regular sports fans again kind of sounding off a bit. And again, they're entitled to their opinion. I respect it. But again, Crystal, again, it's more so again about, not just us in this hangout or on the team, but again, it's the other people, fans from across the league, the media members that have watched, the current and former players. So again, Crystal, what does that side of the spectrum kind of say, though, again, about how we've really grown, though, I guess, ever since we started back in 2014 in your mind?
In the words of a fellow friend, it's pretty cool. Um, no, I think that's cool because like today on Twitter, I was talking to a Minnesota fan, and not saying I would have never done it because, like I said, I don't have a problem with their fans, but it's cool how you can
Sure.
talk to. I don't. That we having no fans in my mentions. It's cool how you can talk to fans of different teams, and they respect what you do and like what you do. I mean, there's some rowdy fans though out of there because I'm not even gonna talk about one of those fans. I was in my mention, one of them Chicago Sky fans, and it
Hmm.
was, man, that was fun but crazy at the same time. Um, but for all the Noble fans out there, I mean, we appreciate it. It's cool to just connect with them. And I think now, since we talked about this earlier, we changed the show from Sparks to WNBA 365. It's easier to connect with more fans and get to know the fans, and I just think it's I think it's a pretty cool thing to do. And like I said, my tweets are always open. Follow me at Pup1010 if you wanna you know talk about how bad I'm beating Shorty in fantasy. Just had to throw that in there. But it's
No.
like I said, it's pretty cool though. I like how the dynamic is changing and you can just get interact with all fans instead of just one core group.
Yeah, no, and that was one of the reasons why those well guys, when I got the idea to kind of, again, as I said, that we were right here, but again, we had to, climb the next rung of the ladder, and that was part of it as well. Was again, more engaging the entire rest of the league because there's a great amount of respect that I have formed, not just amongst players in the league, but also between fan bases and team employees and team representatives as well. I've been able to do that as well, and I guess, guys, it really wasn't on the network, but it was, a player with me as well was, of course, Shorty, beginning with you, or actually, scratch that. We'll go to the person that gave me the idea to do this back in September. Crystal, you were the one that told me to go forward and go ahead and try to score an interview with Candace Parker in September when I was still chasing my bachelor's degree for sports broadcasting. And again, it was, a situation where it was a project I had to do of some type of interview with somebody. And again, I got the brainy idea, but you were the one that said to go for it all the way through. And obviously, Crystal, it became, not only a hallmark or highlight moment of my career professionally, but or a high point in my life personally, to be able to talk to one of my favorite athletes, but also though, it also kind of became, the stepping stone for my entire, or for the next part of my WNBA and women's basketball career was, again, interviewing a player that I had watched since college into the pros. I had got a chance to meet her at 2 games I went to in 2014. So, Crystal, when he had gone back and checked out the interview I did with Ace again, this was an athlete that gave me 45 minutes of her time. She could have given me maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes, but she gave me 45 instead to talk about, her, pretty much her entire life, basically, in a pretty nice one-on-one convo. So your overall take, again, to kind of revisit again, again, not a network highlight, but again, a highlight though involving, the guy that started this thing last season. Final thoughts or what?
Well, when you told me that you were having thoughts of asking her, that's why I just pretty much told you. I mean, the worst answer you can receive is no. And I mean, even sometimes in this case, no wouldn't have even been that bad. Probably could have just been a better time. And I'm glad you went through with it. I'm glad you got the interview, and it was a good interview. I believe that was your first interview with the WNBA player, right? If I remember, and it was a very good interview, and there will be many more to come. There was another one to come after that, and I just think that's what happens when you follow your dream and you go with what you really want to do, and you go with your heart, and it ended up being a really good interview. And I mean, you give me some credit, but that was all you. You went with it. You wrote the questions out. You did all of that. You went for it and you got it. That's proof, people. If you go for what you want, you actually may get it. I know that sounds cliche and corny, but sometimes you got to go for it.
In that response, folks, a bit of foreshadowing for what I'll get to next. But Shorty, again, obviously, for you also being a Tennessee Lady Vol fan as well, and of course watching Candace play across college and of course with LA, I was in the same boat a little bit. I want to say in 2004 or '05 when she had won the dunk contest at the McDonald's All-American game, where you kind of heard about her for the first time, like, hey, it's a girl that can actually do what the guys do and actually slam dunk, and of course she did it twice in her rookie season. But of course, Shorty, not really the regular interviews you guys are probably used to hearing on ESPN or FS1 or on TWCSN. Again, more of that kind of sit down and kind of, go to Starbucks, grab coffee, and then talk for as long as you want. So, Shorty, when you had gone back and you'd listened to it, I know that you had shared it as well on Twitter, but again, your final thoughts, though, about interview number 1 from the early part of my career from last year.
I mean, after I listened to it, I thought it was very great. I definitely enjoyed it, and not to downplay any other journalist who works, in women's basketball media, whether it's ESPN or so forth. But most of the interviews that I read or hear is somewhat generic in a sense, but when I finally got to listen to your interview with her, I thought it was definitely real and coming from a real basketball mind, as I previously said. So, when I heard it, definitely, I was blown away. And like I had told you before off air that I learned some new things about her that I personally didn't know. Like I did not know that she had initially received her scholarship to Tennessee for actually volleyball at first, but then she ended up playing basketball, taking her scholarship for basketball. So to learn that, I mean, I was like, that's an interesting tidbit that didn't hear prior, but to learn that, during the interview was definitely mind blowing. So I definitely thought you did a great job, and all props to you for conducting that interview.
Well,
Woohoo,
thank you very much, guys, and of course,
Calvin!
guys, there's still two more of these to get to, and of course, get to the next one. Of course, you guys know her very well, I'm sure, because I think I've talked about her. I think every Wednesday on Instagram, every time on Twitter she does something, and I think probably because we live in the same city and she's in my backyard, folks. Following week after Candace Parker, of course, was my homegirl Candace Wiggins again, which was by far, not only Shorty, starting with you, not only another interview of this type, but also for one deal, the longest one I've done, over an hour and 10 minutes, but also the my number one favorite, not because of our background, but again, to be told by her both after the interview and in Los Angeles in July, the best interview of her entire career, and of course, a lot of history with the Wiggins family between myself and even my folks as well, dating back to when Candace's dad had played for the Padres back in 1984 on that World Series team. So Shorty, obviously, a very long interview, but again, more so that personal one-on-one connection story. Again, just giving your subject the floor to just relive all the glory days that they don't get to talk about a lot on a day-to-day basis. And of course, a lot's happened ever since then. Of course, personally and professionally. So of course, Shorty, go back and listen to interview number 2, and your final thoughts are what?
That was definitely another great and interesting interview. You got to hear you got to get into the mind, deep in the mind of Candace Wiggins, definitely starting from her high school career, and like Candace, she too also was deeply in volleyball first, also, and received a scholarship for volleyball before eventually taking her scholarship, for volleyball, and ended up playing at Stanford for basketball. But definitely that was another, like I said, interesting interview. Just hearing her journey, her whole ordeal with her father and him passing away due to AIDS complication, and you got in depth into her time at Minnesota, and then at Tulsa, and then finally in LA. So at that time, at least, before she went to New York. But it was definitely another great interview conducted by you as well.
Crystal, again, you were my witness. You were there with me at Staples Center on July 22nd of 2015 when, I had seen her for the first time in 11 years. Because, again, I think a lot of people forget, though, guys, that was my other start to women's basketball, at least on the high school girls level, was seeing Ice play at La Jolla Country Day 11 years ago, and I've been friends with her ever since. I met her after that game. And, again, like I said on here back in November, well, I was up in L.A. at the Lux City Center again. Here is a 11-year-old kid, me at the time being 11 years old again, already making friends with someone, way older than me, that was way better at her sport than I was at my sport at that time. And we've been friends ever since. We've been friends for 11 years, and it took me 11 years to go back and see her play a game again and hang out with her like I did that one time down here at LJCD in San Diego. So, of course, Crystal, probably, yeah, I know that a lot of people complain it kind of dragged on, but again, Chris, like I even said on here during my time again, these athletes don't get that chance to go back and relive, their younger days playing in high school, in college, and reflect on the years that they've had in the pros and everything else included that we got to talk about for that hour, 10 minutes in the course as well, Crystal. Come on now. I mean, if a pro athlete says that an interview that you did with a, up-and-coming bachelor in the art of communications and broadcasting was better than any interview she's done at a victory parade for a championship or on local TV or radio. That's definitely saying something. But what does it say to you, though, in your mind as you think back to it?
Well, I think one of the things is both of those interviews, not just Candace Parker's or Wiggins, but both of them were more like conversations instead of just question and answer. And I think that's what made it different. And I think that's why she probably liked it the best. Instead of you asking the same old questions and the how does it feel and what does this moment mean like to you kind of questions, you actually just had a normal conversation. And I think they could appreciate that more. And I think that's what made them realize you're, a real fan. And there was some stuff. I remember you asked them some stuff that nobody else really knew, and they were like, "Oh, you've been doing your research and all that stuff." So that lets them know that you really were into what you were talking about. You know what you were talking about. And like Shorty said, no disrespect to other analysts and journalists who follow the sport, but you made it more personable for them, and I think that's why they probably thought you did the best interviews with them because you made it seem more like it was just two friends talking over dinner instead of just a work type of thing.
I know, and I totally 100% agree with that. Kind of, that East 60 special or 30 for 30, kind of more so East 60 maybe with that. But then, guys, I kind of stepped down in November to the college level to also cover an athlete of the same ilk of Parker and Wiggins, but also more so right place, right time, where I'd gone to Point Loma Nazarene University, where I currently work at. But before then, I'd gone to their women's basketball home opener November of last year, and things kind of fell into place between me meeting the athletic department to get a full-time job there for baseball last year. Then, of course, my full-time gig reprised this year as well for everything else. But, of course, guys, there was, though, a 5-month-long project I'd done between 2 different blog stories and also a full interview with, of course, my other friend up here on the Wall of Fame right there, which was, of course, meeting Jess Scorza from PONU, who was more so Shorty in a way a different type of a college or a different type of athlete I've ever seen, met, or interacted with. Because again, this was a case though of a person again that went out of their way to, for one deal, help the media out, the media members out, which was the case of my friend who was doing PA that night, and had come over to me just out of the blue and just introduced herself because I was with my friend, and I said, that's pretty cool. But also, it was more so, the personal traits, and then the game she played, and also kind of owning up for a few missed free throws she had, where she had gone back out after the game and shot free throws for a half hour after the team lost, and then of course, writing that story about her, going to her final home game as a senior, and she leaves her warm-ups to talk to me for about 20 minutes beforehand and say that the entire family reads that story, and then I get to have my one last little moment in the spotlight in a full-length interview with Jess in April of this year as well. So Shorty, again, obviously, yes, college athletes may be a bit on a different level than the pro athletes, but of course, this was an entire school year project I had done from November to February to April, basically, with my interview concluding it all. So Shorty, I know that you probably may have read my blogs, but you probably caught the interview though. So when you probably caught everything, I guess, was there like a difference, between the interviews with Parker and Wiggins as opposed to my interview with Jess Scorza from Point Loma? Perhaps in your mind, what do you think?
I do recall watching the interview on YouTube, and I really didn't see a difference as far as, the way you interviewed her and the type of questions that you given her. You pretty much gave the same, great questions as you did when you talked to the 2 pro players previously, and she liked the question. She was very enthusiastic when talking to you, and you talked about her career at Point Loma, and also what she had planned in the future, and she definitely seemed very excited, just as Candace and other Candace was, the 2 Candaces. But yeah, I really didn't see anything different per se, but I say you continued on with your great work, and you definitely provided a great interview there.
Crystal, there's some times where I kind of think back to February of last year at Jess's last home game, because again we had embraced and met each other before the game for about 20 minutes, I think, after she had warmed up and stuff. We were just talking about, the story, and of course, Jess had told me that she shared with her family in San Diego, in Phoenix, and then back out to her hometown of South Riding, Virginia, very small military town on the shoreline of the state of Virginia. But Crystal, I think back though still, and I remember Jess telling me though, hey, my mom's coming tonight. Fair warning, if she sees you, she's going to talk your ear off. And that was the case when I'd gone to the snack bar upstairs from my perch, and I was like delayed getting downstairs because I was talking to her mom for about 10 to 15 minutes before the game started. So, yeah, Jess warned me mercifully. But again, Crystal, probably there may have been a small difference between it, for one being a college athlete, but also, again, that there was something before the interview, though. There was a story leading up to it, and then there was another one to kind of recap about this, hey, again, kind of being thankful, again, for someone sharing the story with their folks, and, again, they all loving it and liking it before the interview. But, again, Crystal, perhaps any small difference maybe, though, perhaps between the interviews with Ace and Ice as opposed to Jess from Point Loma, perhaps, or what do you think?
There wasn't one. I mean, you could tell it all seemed the same. It all seemed like it was coming from like a casual conversation amongst friends, and I think that's how comfortable you make these athletes feel, which is a really good thing. You can tell that they don't mind talking to you, they don't mind opening up to you, which is a really great thing. I mean, like I said, you've seen some of these interviewers, some of them are pretty ignorant, and it's not their fault. They don't know the person, they don't know the people they're interviewing, but in this case, you knew who you were talking about, you knew them, you knew what they like to do, and you just applied it to interview. It was really good. I mean, I think that is one of the reasons why they don't mind doing interviews with you, because you know the sport and you know what it is that you're talking about.
Crystal, you got me laughing because this just popped in my head because you were also my witness on July 21st when we were after the Sparks beat Phoenix, and you and I got to go inside of the Budweiser Black Crown Lounge for the post-game Q&A with Aaron Phillips, who was the featured guest that night. And obviously, Crystal, between me being the lone gentleman amongst the entire LA female season ticket holders that were there, between all of our friends that we know on Facebook or Twitter, and of course, Crystal, when you knew if I was going to ask a question, it was going to be something in regards to the game. So obviously, but Crystal, I know pretty damn well you saw and probably heard those oohs and ahs from the crowd though when I had asked that question about Aaron and the team making up those pretty clutch threes in that game. So Crystal, you probably saw that, or when you heard that, react to me. Your thoughts about that question, perhaps.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less from you. Like I said, you know the game. I think they were just happy that there were fans who knew the game and weren't coming from like a sexist point of view. Like you actually watched the game because you like basketball, and it wasn't because you think that the women playing the game are beautiful, which you probably think, but that's not why you're pretty much watching the game. You're watching the game because it's good basketball, and you know these women can play basketball. And I think they were just more so impressed that you actually watched and understood what was going on.
Yeah, Shorty, I think that also Crystal probably appreciated more because, again, it wasn't probably – because she's been to a lot of those things recently at Staples, again, with the post-game Q&As again. And she even said it's kind of like – it's just like, a regular interview where it's like the regular, boring, outdated questions, basically. So it was kind of a shot in the arm to everyone in there again as well. But guys, I want to kind of move away from me now. Talk about you guys now because, you guys, in spite of me carrying the load every night here as the main guy – but, hey, behind every good host, behind every good person is a good support system behind them. And I've got a starting lineup behind me every night that comes on here between all five of us or the three of us, or sometimes two of us will come on here and talk. So obviously, Shorty, when you got the invite to come on here and join us full time, I mean, I know that we kind of brought you guys on to fill voids when we kind of needed you to at desperate times with desperate measures. But again, when you get the chance to come on here and again, not only just talk about the sport, but also, I mean, you see what goes on in here and what goes on Twitter between all the laughs that we have and gimmicks that go on in here. So, Shorty, when you got the full invite to come on, what was your thoughts about coming on here and joining us full time?
I mean, I thought it was great, definitely, and I am grateful that the decision was made by you to bring us on here full time because, like you said, every great host needs a great support system, and with me and Crystal's knowledge of the game as well, I mean, we would definitely provide a great support system, to the best of our abilities because we love the game as well. Um, and I definitely, over the years, gained a great appreciation and respect for the WNBA. So, and you need that, as a support system. You definitely don't want to bring people who are what if or whatever,
Exactly.
about what you're doing, then things aren't going to work out well. But you definitely brought in great people along with our other additions who are not on the broadcast live right now, Eric and Reagan. But to bring all of our basketball minds together, definitely makes for a great recipe. And I thank you once again.
Crystal, I think that you may have touched base on this earlier in the show, but like I said again, more so, guys. To be very honest, again, there were nights on here where it was like a really tense atmosphere going on in this hangout on the show before the rebrand happened. There was tension. There was really with me being kind of stressed out on some shows because I knew though that it was going to be a really shallow response from the person that I was pretty much communicating with on here pretty much 9 times out of 10 to the point, where I was getting emails from fans and even tweets or, messages from the fans about, you got to do something about this line, about this, team that you've assembled. And, when you kind of stop and think about it, about longevity going forward with this move that we made, it's really kind of made me relax a bit more sitting here. So, Chris, I think that you touch base on this though. But again, though, your thoughts though again about coming here and again joining us full time as opposed to what you were doing in the past though for us as well.
Again, I have to say thank you. I love the opportunity. It's really fun. I love working with you, Eric, Reagan, and sometimes Shorty. Shorty, cool, a little bit.
Hater.
No, but I love working with you guys. You, Shorty, Reagan, and Eric are awesome, and I'm glad that we are able to expand this with you. And I'm glad that you picked us. You could have picked anybody, but we're really grateful for that. And I'm just happy that I could be a part of everything that's going on here. And it's like I said, it's fun. And when you love what you're doing and you have knowledge of what you're doing, it makes things that much better. And with the growth of the show, it clearly tells that we're doing something right. And we love doing this. We're having fun doing this, and it's fun. And like I said, I'm just glad to be a part of it. And we're still here, so we're doing something correctly. So.
Yeah, they haven't shut us down. They haven't shut us down on MTV just yet. But again, folks, we were actually really glad and excited, folks, to report a 10% growth in viewership, up to up yes up 10% from 22 up to 32%, a growth that we've had from last month up until now, and even lifetime that the numbers, folks, still are in a very good positive or green or going up projectile across everything from views to minutes watched to likes and dislikes and even comments. And of course, the subscribers are coming. We've built up from being very small up to about 50 people roughly that actually have subscribed to our actual channel on the feed. And also Shorty, I guess I'll even throw this in there too. But again, also getting back on the web as well was also one goal I had to get us back on here. But also, I mean, what we've done though in launching a website as well, and behind my laptop on my desktop, I'm watching the show live to kind of see how it's looking. It's been looking good so far. But I think though, Shorty, that was really important though as well, that when I did do this relaunch, that we did try to get back on the web because I did have a website up for the other side of the network, but again had no time to really keep it updated. We're now you can get anyone's take on anything again between us writing stories and sharing stories, and of course our exclusive story coming up very soon. So Shorty, obviously with you putting this together and all of us helping out as well, your thoughts as well about us as well, kind of expanding our social media bridge, I guess, instead of just doing Twitter, and of course we're adding Instagram and Facebook later on when the season starts, but also getting back on the web though. Your thoughts about that as well?
Definitely getting back on the web is definitely big for us. I mean, of course, having this network on YouTube is one thing, but the word here that I'm looking for is expansion. And for the better growth of the network, you need to expand to multiple outlets. So, creating a website for the network was definitely big. And what my past webmaster knowledge in a previous blog that I created
Webmaster shot
a few years ago, I was up for the challenge of coming back and helping to create the WNBA 365 network on Wix. And so far, I mean, the whole layout and the menu bars and everything, it's looking good. There's sidebars and also the blog posts that have recently been added. We've created so many already, and it's barely a month old. That's the thing. It
it.
is barely a month old, but we have already put so much into it. And of course, for the SEO, aka search engine optimization part of it, and for the traffic to come through, it's going to take some time. So we're going to need patience on that part. But everything is up and running. The blog pages are being indexed slowly into the Google search engine. So hopefully, when we get that fully up and running, we'll have more traffic and definitely bring out more blog posts in the future, including the one that we're working on now, and hopefully we'll continue with the growth of the website and the network.
Again, folks, this again is our final show for 2015 for the coverage again. But again, folks, on Monday, we're now going to slide into Monday again, folks. We're going to be having the first 2 episodes of our newest show to debut, which is WNBA One-on-One, where again it's going to be either a solo or a interview type show, basically, kind of almost, I'd say, kind of like a ESPN 30 for 30 special, kind of where you're going to be able to actually, instead of reading the stories that we've written, we're going to go back and revisit those stories, but more so talk about them more so than anything else than writing. And obviously, it's me and Crystal on night 1. So, Crystal, we'll start with you because I know that you're going last. Got to see how this is going to work. But again, Crystal, you're sharing a pretty, you're sharing a more so a personal story that I believe was way better than mine for one deal. But again, Crystal, I know that people read your story, they loved it, they really gave you a lot of high praise across Twitter, Facebook, and even on the site, on the comment box. But again, Crystal, again, for people that are going to tune in on Monday night at 10 o'clock when you do have your chance to have the floor all to yourself again, again, revisit or at least kind of rekindling for the folks, again, what really happened though the night, what really happened on a pretty historic night in LA Sparks history.
I mean, I don't want to give them too much because then I'm not going to have anything to talk about on Monday. But the truth of the matter is, I just, probably a couple of months ago, I was, finally able to tell that story with no chip to my shoulder and feel comfortable without getting emotional about it. Because it was the summer, although I kept a smile on my face, it was a really tough summer. I was happy to get through it, and I can finally tell the story without, uh, getting emotional about it, and without having to feel like I have to hide something about it. So I feel like, if they tune in on Monday, I don't know how long it's gonna be. It might be longer than 30 minutes. Who knows? But I feel like they will really get to know not just the goofy side of me, because I could be real serious. So they'll get to know, everything that I went through from the minute before I got to the game, from after the game, from during the game. And I think they should tune in. And don't be so hard on yourself. Your story is good. I like your story. They might not like it, but I like it. It's a good story.
No, I think now I'm starting to like dislike it now because I keep talking about it nonstop. But no, of course I don't dislike it. But again, but Shorty, I mean, if there's anyone in here that knows more so about what happened over the summer, other than Adam Levine and Maroon 5's hit song of "This Summer's Gonna Hurt Like a Bleep," which is one of my favorite songs, that sadly was kind of how it was for Crystal though over the summer. And Shorty, there were plenty of nights though during this. I don't want to give too much away, but Shorty, there was nights though where Chris and I would be on Google hanging off air, and she'd be walking the beach in Santa Monica or in Venice somewhere, just to kind of again kind of get back to to like a better personal state of mind, I guess, and kind of get away from the hustle and bustle of what she was going through personally. But again, Shorty, because I know that you were one of the first people to read the story, and as I recall best when we had talked about our stories back in November again, the way you reacted was like this was a real eye opener into someone's real personal life, basically. But Shorty, your thoughts though again going forward about again what's going to happen with Crystal later on Monday night.
I'm pretty sure she's definitely going to fully lay out in complete detail, what was going on with her in that scenario. Now, of course, over the summer, I was kept in loop with her about what was going on. Of course, I didn't understand the deep impact of it, but I did know like bits and pieces from what she was telling me. So when I finally read the full story about what went on, I was like, wow, oh my goodness, because I knew what I knew then, but to fully hear everything in complete detail, it was just wow. I mean, I couldn't believe it, but I mean, it just showed her own perseverance and how she made it through. And it'll definitely be a good read when she puts it up next week. And also, last but not least, your fantasy team is trash. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness! Us and our gimmicks with fantasy basketball, and of course, folks. Before you do see Crystal and her story on WNBA One-on-One, you'll be stuck hearing my annoying voice again for an hour at 9 o'clock on Monday night again. Again, as I've said before, but again, rekindling the ever repeating story that is. The personal story of myself and Candace Wiggins. And again, guys, as we've already brought up here, plenty of times, I've brought up numerous times with people I've talked with between my folks, my brother and sister-in-law, her family, people I meet on the streets or at Christmas parties where I have way too much to drink sometimes. Again, where I really, though, value this story so much because of, what this player has meant to me on a personal level and a professional level, not only being interview guest number 2, but again, how I've known her for 11 years when I was, barely still in 5th grade, and seeing her play in high school, meeting her after the game that she had played in when I was at her school, playing my games, and then I went to see her play, and, that we've been friends for 11 years, and it took me 11 years to go back and see her play, and how when we saw each other after her game at Staples Center, guys, how it was like old times again between, just talking one-on-one, walking back to the hotel hand in hand, basically, and then into the lobby for another hour. So, Shorty, I know that you had read the story. I've talked about it nonstop. Haven't stopped talking about it ever since July. But again, Shorty, this is a good chance, again, to kind of hear it though from a different perspective, more so than just what you read, on the website or in text or in print. So, your thoughts though about the debut show, which again features me, my annoying face, and annoying voice, again on Monday night at 9 o'clock on Monday.
Oh my goodness. What a way to describe yourself. No, I mean, that's your opinion. I don't think you're annoying. You're pretty cool, like Kristen would say. But
that means that means I can leave the dog pound finally?
Yes, you can leave the dog pound, but you're still my dog. All right.
Rough.
But anyway, I mean, yeah, it was definitely an interesting story. I mean, you hear, players, I mean, not players, but you hear from, different WNBA fans here and there just talk about one personal meet and greet or maybe on a second occasion. But with you and Wiggins, I mean, to have that long and almost storied, friendship from, meeting her at age 11 up until now being a grown man, yes, a grown man. I mean, it was definitely a long and impactful, somewhat, relationship for you guys to have, and definitely your deep relationship with your love for women's sports and meeting Candace, because she's definitely one of your favorite players to follow. I mean, it was inevitable that all of that happened, and then to finally, meet her again, as an adult.
Yeah, no.
I'm pretty sure it was
Crystal, like
a pretty amazing feeling.
Yeah, Shorty, you had a Yeah, I know you. We hit another one of those little tentacle snafus again.
Yes,
But
sorry about that.
anyway, we'll actually let you finish what you can actually finish your point. Go ahead and do so.
No, yeah, I was just about to quickly wrap it up. I know it was a pretty amazing feeling for you to finally meet her, and pretty sure you definitely want to continue to meet her again in the future.
You know, Crystal, before Shorty had her glitch again, she said it right though that we really though value these, these personal encounters we get with these athletes again, that they really show that soft side, that personal side they really don't show because of course they're in game, they have their game face on and stuff. And again, Crystal, you were my witness at this game where I had come down again, and again, sat next to you, moved your popcorn out of the way. We were about 2 rows behind the Liberty bench, but again, Crystal, though, I mean, this well because again, I mean, come on. Out of all the people Candace could have seen after the game at the bench, who was it she saw first? Come on now. You know this very well, and of course you were there when this happened. But again, as I said, though, as well, Crystal, back in November, again, this was more so, again, a reason. Again, I wrote it, though, and talked about it ever since, again, about a reason as to why I watch this sport, why I love it so much, why I've covered it for 11, 12 years now. And again, Crystal, as well, though, knowing a player who's now a professional, knowing them before anyone else in Los Angeles, in New York, in Minnesota, in Tulsa, or even at Stanford, knowing them before they became famous. They've been her family's been a household name in San Diego for 31 years since her dad played with the Pirates in '84. And again, Crystal, you were there. Like I told you, Crystal, and like I just said, out of all the people she could have, embraced or talked with after the game when they left the court, I mean, come on. Who else would she have picked other than me, right?
No, it was pretty awesome. Seeing how she came up to Callan, you would think that they were best friends that they hadn't seen each other for years. And Cabin, I'm sorry, I've just put
Kevin.
your name in that together. Tongue twister. I'm so sorry. Hey, I'm human. Players can mess up too. I meant to say,
Don't worry, I've heard worse.
I meant to say, Callan is a savage for the way he moved my popcorn. Just straight up, just moved it all up out the seat and was like, "Move." Hey,
It
this is what he
was
said.
empty.
No, this is what he said. He said, "Move this. I'm gonna sit here," and I was like, "Okay." No, it was you know, the the way that you and Candace hugged, you could tell that you guys were like true friends, and that was awesome. I mean, anytime you can meet a basketball player that you've been watching or a player that you've admired or so on and so forth, anytime you can actually finally meet them and they're exactly how you imagine it would be, it just makes the sweeting that much, just the meeting and the feeling that much sweeter. Because could you imagine if you met Wiggins and she was mean? That would have been a downer. Wiggins is not mean, by the way. Wiggins is a very nice person, just very awesome. But it was cool. I mean, the way that she saw him and said his name, she actually said his name. It wasn't just like, oh, hey, like it was like a Callan, it was like a kid seeing Santa Claus for the first time. So it was a cool sight, man. It was pretty cool.
Shorty, I don't mean to, again, kind of make you go into a throwback Thursday mode, but I do recall, though, you plenty of times after the interview I had with her, leading up to the season. I know that both you guys had said that whenever I would see her, either with LA or whenever she had gone somewhere else, I'd just see her randomly, even if she was home and I had bumped into her on the street corner somewhere like I had done up in LA, that she would flip out and lose her mind. And I think that we can all agree that after the game, as Crystal brought up, though, what she did, even when I had seen her with her family afterwards as well, with that. So, Shorty, I really wish you could have been there to see this because I mean, it was really just classic how this all played out. But Shorty, though, can you kind of reiterate though to the folks out there what you thought was going to happen though when we did though at least see each other at some point in a season or even now during the off season back home?
But I gotta be honest, I kept telling Kellen over and over again that I thought he was gonna be the one to freak out and have like a little fangirl moment, but it was actually her, So Kellen was right the first time.
Crystal, do you care to agree or disagree with Shorty about the post-game hug at least, other than everything else that happened afterwards? Because like I said though, both you guys said that it would be one of us or both of us freaking out at some point in time. But upon official review of the play, what do you think and why?
As you view on the play of the field, both of them kind of freaked out a little bit. It was kind of like this. I'm gonna try to reenact it. So it was like he walked out into the game. He's like Candace, and Candace's like Kellen, and I'm just like, oh, and that was pretty much it. That's what it looked like from me, from where I was sitting. He kind of made a beeline. He just said, forget everybody else. I'm gonna go say hi to Candace, and I'm just like, okay. So then he goes down there, and then it's like Candace, and it's like Kellen, and then if she didn't have to go into the locker room, I think at that moment they would have hung out on the court. But they kind of freaked out both a little bit. So you was right at the same time. You was right on both ends. But it was cool. If I would have, I would have recorded it. That would have been awesome. But I kind of was, thinking about my own thing. But they kind of both fangirled. Well, in Khaled's case, he fanboyed, and in her case, she fangirled. But it was pretty cool nonetheless.
Hey, Crystal, quickly, was it like that whole movie cliche where they like saw each other, then went in slow motion towards each other and hugged?
It wasn't in slow motion because it looked like Candace kind of was in a rush. But let me tell you, Khaled looked like an Olympics hurdler and sprinter. Like the way he looked like Lolo Jones out there. Like the way he jumped over those chairs. I was like, Jesus, Khaled. And Khaled's talk this year was like a gazelle. It was like graceful. It was like, and then he landed and he was like, Candace. And I was like, oh, I didn't know he could do that. I didn't know he could do that. He was hurdling. He hurdled. I had no idea it was in him.
He was gliding like a stallion.
Yeah, he was. He was like a little gazelle over there. He was graceful and everything. I was like, Khaled, an athlete. He plays more than baseball. He was a little athlete. I was like, whoa. I was impressed, man. We need you on Team USA.
I will point out quickly, I get some of it from my dad. He does own a high school record in San Diego for the 330-meter low hurdles, which is no longer an event. Other than that, I really can't say much about my athletic ability anymore. And if I was to tell, or at least play as part of the show for Candace in a couple weeks when I see her sometime soon, hopefully, she may be like me and just flipping out and just laughing all the way across. But again, folks, expect again to hear more of a personal side of the story again on WNBA One-on-One, where we debut the personal show to kind of get to know us a bit better. Again, you'll hear me at 9, and then you'll hear Crystal at 10 o'clock again. We're both talking about some pretty really cool, really awesome meet and greets with a few really special people that are players and really are ambassadors as well for this WNBA league as well. With that, though, folks, out of all the shenanigans and the brief delay and everything that's just included here, we have lost control. With that, though, folks, we thank you so much for joining us here in year number 2 of the WNBA/LA Sparks Network, including our rebrand. And again, folks, we would not be here without the hard work of myself. And also, we will also give an honorable mention as well to our 2 folks that cannot be here tonight, Eric Nemchok, the great writer from today'sfastbreak.com, and also our hotshot rookie, Reagan Patrick. They both cannot join us this week due to finals. And Reagan, by the way, is also traveling home from the U.S. women's soccer team match that was held in New Orleans yesterday. She's going back home as well. So, Eric, good luck on finals. Reagan, get home safely. With that, though, folks, it's been a pleasure, as always, serving you folks here on the WNBA 365 Network for the past season. And again, year 19 is in the books, and Chapter 20 begins on January 4th when we come back here, folks, to start our 2016 coverage, along with our college talk as well, back here on January 4th. With that, though, folks, until Monday, when we do come back and see you folks on WNBA One-on-One, this has been the 2015 edition of the WNBA 365 Network. With that, though, folks, until Monday and also until January 4th, please have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thanks, as always, for stopping by and joining us this entire season. Have a very fun, happy, and safe Christmas and New Year holiday, and good night. This has been the WNBA 365 Network. We are the WNBA and covering the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe. For Crystal and Shorty up in Los Angeles, yours truly, Cal McClurdy in Studio 171 in San Diego, wishing you all a very good night and a great Christmas and New Year holiday. Take care. See you in January. Bye-bye.